The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are simply that, opinions. All are presumed innocent until proven otherwise in a court of law. Sensitive topics are discussed. Discretion is advised.
Donna was taken into custody and charged with first-degree murder and conspiracy to commit murder in the 2014 shooting death of her estranged ex-son-in-law, Dan Markel.
Can I call my attorney?
You can.
Where am I going?
Florida State law professor Dan Markel and Donna Adelson's daughter, Wendy, were embroiled in a bitter custody battle when he was killed. They lived in Tallahassee and both worked at the law school. But Wendy Adelson wanted to take their young sons and move hundreds of miles away to Miami to be closer to her mother, Donna. Dan Markel would not agree to this.
Mom, I need you to sit down. I am fine. The boys are fine. I need you to sit down. Danny has been shot. And I don't think he's gonna make it.
Since Dan Markel's death, 2 hitmen and 2 co-conspirators, including Wendy Adelson's brother Charlie, have been convicted. Prosecutors say Markel's ex-mother-in-law, Donna, was the mastermind of the murder-for-hire plot.
Ma'am, you were arrested on a warrant from Leon County, Florida. It says attempted solicitation, conspiracy to commit a capital felony, homicide.
Donna's arrest came a week after her son Charlie was convicted and sentenced to life in prison. She and Harvey Adelson had one-way tickets to Vietnam, which does not have an extradition agreement with the U.S. They were heard discussing their plans on a jail call recording.
We've been looking it up over and over. If things change, if there is extradition from Vietnam. Because we've looked at all the places. I mean, I could go to Korea and China, but there's no extradition. But we're looking for places where there's no extradition.
How long have you been incarcerated at the Leon County Detention Facility? Do you recall?
15 and a half months, 470 days.
Donna Adelson has pleaded not guilty to all of the charges. If she's convicted, she could be sentenced to life in prison.
This is On the Record, where we cut through the drama and bring you the biggest moments from the biggest trials. Of course, I'm Cody Thomas, and this week, the case that's front and center here at Court TV is one that we followed for years. The murder of Florida State law professor Dan Markel, and the woman prosecutors say is the matriarch mastermind behind it all, Donna Adelson. Now, the prosecution wasted no time laying out their theory that Donna Adelson orchestrated the murder of her former son-in-law, Dan Markel. But the defense fired back, saying there's no evidence tying her to the crime. And from the witness stand, a convicted hitman claimed it wasn't Donna, but her daughter, Wendy, who wanted Markel dead.
The reason that we're here today is because this defendant, Donna Adelson, was part of a conspiracy to hire a hitman to kill her former son-in-law, Dan Markel. Back in 2014, this defendant's family had a big problem. And the big problem was Dan Markel. And the solution to that problem was the defendant's son, Charlie Adelson. Charlie Adelson was the solution because he had a girlfriend with connections to the type of people who were willing and capable of pointing a gun at a complete stranger and pulling the trigger. The victim in this case, Dan Markel, was known as Danny to his friends and family. He was a loving father to 2 little boys. On July 18th of 2014, Dan Markel was shot in the head in broad daylight in the driveway of his home. The last day of his life began like any other day of his that summer. After finishing his workout, he returned home. He pulled into his driveway and he opened his garage. But little did he know that throughout his entire routine that morning, he was being followed by 2 hired hitmen. And like something out of a horror movie, when he pulled into his driveway, the killers pulled in right behind him. Moments later, Dan Markel's neighbor heard a gunshot. Law enforcement arrived to find Dan Markel with a gunshot wound to the head. He was taken to the hospital where he survived for about 14 hours before he was pronounced dead. Charlie Adelson was convicted in November of 2023. And within hours of his guilty verdict, this defendant began to plan to flee the United States in order to avoid being arrested for Dan Markel's murder. She was stopped by law enforcement on the jetway where she was boarding her one-way flight to Vietnam. She took the life of a loving father of 2 little boys and caused a lifetime of grief. The evidence in this case, you will be convinced beyond any reasonable doubt that this defendant is guilty.
Without any evidence, only motive and theory, they put her at the top of this pyramid. She's the matriarch. She's the matriarch mastermind behind Danny being killed, and they don't have evidence of that. Think about what each thing it is that the state has alleged. She planned it. She got people to do it. She intended that he die. That this woman wanted to take away the father of her grandchildren for the rest of their life because of relocation that happened a year ago and was done and over. And at the end of the case, because there's not going to be evidence that she did this, keep an open mind. Listen to all of it. We're going to ask you to find her not guilty of every single count. It was your testimony that the first trip you came up on, you scoped out Mr. Markel's house, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
You're trying to follow him to the school, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And you got lost. He lost you.
Yes, ma'am.
And the second time that you came up, you knew he was going to be taking the children to school, and so you followed him to the school, correct?
The daycare, yes.
Yes. And then you knew he was going to be going to the gym, right?
I didn't know he was going to the gym. I just followed him.
You followed him to the gym?
Yeah.
Okay. And then you followed him to his house?
Yes, ma'am.
And that's where he was killed?
Yes, ma'am.
And the woman who wanted him to be killed was Wendy Adelson, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
It was she wanting her children, correct?
Absolutely.
The Court TV podcast will return.
On day 2, jurors heard about Donna Adelson's emails and her alleged role behind the scenes in her daughter Wendy's divorce. Now, both Wendy and her brother Rob took the stand, giving a rare look into the family's dynamic. The prosecution pressed Wendy on her brother's, quote, hitman joke, and whether her parents had more motive than anyone else.
In this case, have you had an opportunity to review State's demonstrative A?
Yes.
All right, so were you asked to look for the foundation to support the fact that each of the filings in that document were known to or seen by Donna Adelson?
Yes, I was.
And what type of evidence did you find in regards to the divorce filings to indicate the defendant has seen these things?
Emails. Emails primarily. We have an email from Donna Adelson to Wendy Adelson.
And she replies the same day indicating she read everything that Markel wrote, right?
She did.
And how do we know it's her and not Harvey reading these documents? Or
Signed,
this particular one?
It's signed, I love you, Mom.
Is it fair to say that your mom, the defendant, is a controlling person?
I don't think my mom is a controlling person.
Do you remember giving a law enforcement interview in reference to this case?
Yes, I remember.
That was the same day that Mr. Markel was shot, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and did you say in that interview, quote, my parents have more reason to dislike Danny than almost anyone else?
At that point, I was sitting with law enforcement for 6 hours and had just been told that Danny had been shot. So I was in shock, and I was trying to help the police think of anything I could possibly think of that would be helpful.
And are you suggesting that after 6 hours you became fatigued to the point that you started saying things that weren't true?
No, I didn't say anything that wasn't true. I just was in shock. I just kept talking and talking and talking.
Did your mom help you prepare for your meetings with your divorce lawyer?
My mom offered help, but I don't think I needed help preparing for meetings with my divorce lawyer.
Did your brother joke about hiring a hitman to kill Dan Markel?
He did make that joke.
Were you in any way involved in the plot to kill your ex-husband?
No.
Did you maybe know it was going to happen but not know the details?
I did not know it was going to happen, and I did not know any details.
What information do you have regarding your mother's involvement in the plot to kill your ex-husband?
I don't have information.
There's been a lot of testimony and a lot of pictures put up, lots of things highlighted about the ugly things that your mother said about Danny during the course of the separation, the divorce, and the follow-up litigation, right?
Yes.
She called him a lot of bad names.
Yes.
She said ugly things about him.
Yes.
But not one single time did she ever suggest in writing or to you personally that Danny deserved to be harmed, did she?
Never.
After the murder of Dan Markel, did Donna Adelson seem curious about who killed Dan Markel?
No. When I finally had a chance to ask and say, what is going on? This was not a small event. This was getting a lot of notoriety. And I said, what do you guys think happened? And she had said, I don't know and I don't care. It doesn't concern me.
Was that out of character for her to not be curious and not be asking some questions?
Yeah, it was an unsolved murder of, my former brother-in-law, like someone that we all know very well. If it was like some neighborhood gossip, people would be interested. This was like national interest, and nobody had any curiosity about who did this to Danny.
Now, by day 3, the focus shifted to 2 voices with direct ties to the plot. Wendy's ex-boyfriend Jeffrey Lacasse recalled her chilling admission that Charlie looked into hiring a hitman. Then Catherine McBanawa, already convicted in this case, took the stand admitting her role as the middlewoman connecting Charlie to the shooters. Now, she even testified that Donna signed her paychecks and helped her wash the money.
Okay, I want to draw your attention next to a disagreement that occurred with Wendy Adelson on June 29th of 2014. Do you recall that incident?
I do.
Okay. And at that time, did you confront Wendy about some suspicions you had that she was seeing other men?
Yeah, that was part of it. That was the main part of the disagreement. I also had spent the last 2 or 3 months concerned that she seemed to be stringing me along. I was getting a little tired of this whole drama around the relocation. And so I pushed back on Wendy a little bit and said, you're going to have to kind of make your peace with this. You're going to have to take some responsibility for this. You're linked to Dan Markel for life. I kind of challenged her a little bit. And she said, well, can I tell you something confidentially? Sure. Last summer, my brother looked into all options possible to take care of the Danny Markel problem, including hiring a hitman, and it would cost about $15,000.
Okay, and when she referred to her brother, she's got 2 of those, right?
She said Charlie. Wendy and I reestablished phone contact about 10 days after the murder. She called me, and we had 3 or 4 phone calls. In one of them, she related that her and Charlie had gone to what Charlie called a celebration dinner, and at that dinner, Charlie said something to her. She didn't specify what it was, and she spontaneously vomited all over the table.
Were you involved in the death of Dan Markel?
Yes, ma'am.
Did we have it right? Were you the middleman between the shooter and Charlie Adelson?
Yes, ma'am.
Who solicited you to become involved in this?
Charlie.
Who was he to you at that time?
We were dating at that time.
When did Charlie Adelson first bring this idea up to you that I'm looking for someone to harm my brother-in-law?
This was around October. What stuck out in my head was on Halloween on October 31st.
And what year was that?
That was 2013.
Did Charlie Adelson tell you why he wanted to harm Dan Markel?
At that time, no, ma'am.
At some point, did you learn this isn't going to be just harming, like, I don't know, maybe punch him in the face or something, it's going to be a murder?
Yes, ma'am.
Who signed your paychecks from the Adelson Institute?
Donna Adelson.
Did Charlie Adelson ever tell you this murder is to benefit my sister?
No, ma'am.
But you knew that, didn't you?
Yes, ma'am.
He did tell you that his mom was at the house right before you arrived, the night of the murder.
Yes, ma'am.
He did tell you that his mother washed the money.
Yes, ma'am.
Looking at this specific email, in this email, does Donna Adelson call Dan Markel a name?
She does, yes.
And what does she call him?
She says this guy is a major. I hope that your attorney is the shark that is her reputation.
Looking 2 months ahead to May 21st of 2013, is this an email from Donna Adelson to Wendy Adelson?
Yes.
And says, he is such a royal how smart are you to get rid of this piece of, and then types out a screen.
Yes.
Now, back to the Court TV podcast.
On day 4, jurors heard how quickly Donna was looped in after Markel was shot, with calls and texts linking her to Charlie that same night. Now, investigators also walked the jury through the bump, which was an undercover sting where the FBI approached Donna face-to-face to see how she'd react and who she'd first call.
Familiar with a call that Wendy Adelson made while at TPD in front of TPD investigators to inform Donna Adelson of Dan Markel's shooting.
Yes.
And was that call made by Wendy Adelson to Donna Adelson at 7:04 p.m.?
Yes, there were actually 2 close together there.
Okay, thank you. Which co-conspirator did Donna Adelson call after that?
So looking at Donna Adelson's locations and communication, there is a text message from Donna to Charlie, a chat that says, call us ASAP.
Is there evidence in the phone records that Donna Adelson went to Charlie Adelson's home on the night of Dan Markel's murder?
So there is another communication from Miss Donna Adelson at 8:59 p.m. stating, outside your house.
What can you determine about when Donna Adelson would have reached Charlie Adelson's residence according to this estimated travel time?
So if we look at this, and again, we see the area of Charlie Adelson's residence, we have the message at 8:59 that says outside your house. Charlie responds to that about 20 minutes later with 10 men, 10 minutes. So again, using the same route planning, we see that that should have taken approximately 25 minutes to travel from our 8:32 starting point to Charlie Adelson's residence. And so that would have put the estimated time of arrival at his residence 8:57, and the text message is sent at 8:59. So that would be pretty consistent.
Can you, with the call detail records, place my client, Donna Adelson's handset at Charlie Adelson's residence on July 18th of 2014?
From cell site locations in the records, no.
So from the call detail records, you cannot testify, you cannot tell this jury that my client was at her son's house.
That's correct.
All right, are you familiar with the bump in this case?
I am.
All right, what's the bump?
The bump is where we took an undercover agent and had him approach Mrs. Adelson with a plan. It was during the time of the investigation, we had evidence that linked Luis Rivera and Sigfredo Garcia to being the actual hitmen.
And was the goal to identify, if the pattern that we're seeing that we think is the members of the conspiracy, is that right? Who's a member of the conspiracy and what are their roles?
Yeah, we had Luis Rivera, Sigfredo Garcia would talk, and then Sigfredo Garcia talked to Catherine McManus through the phones. Catherine McManus would talk to Charlie Adelson through phones. Charlie Adelson would talk to Donna Adelson.
Excuse me, Mrs. Adelson? How you doing? Just want to give you this. Listen.
Ew. You're scared.
Don't be scared.
Does she make any phone calls once she goes back into her building?
When she goes back into her building, she does.
And who is the first person that the defendant calls after the bump?
Charlie Adelson.
All right, that wraps up this episode in the Matriarch Mastermind murder trial, but the story is far from over. Now, coming up next week, a whirlwind of new faces and fresh revelations to pull the jury even deeper into this alleged murder-for-hire plot. And with that, I'm Cody Thomas. Stay safe, stay informed, and join us next time we go back on the record.
This podcast is a production of Court TV. Go to CourtTV.com for more content, trials on demand, and to find out how to watch Court TV in your area.